I was sent to Inglewood, which is that prison just up on northwest of here. That was in 1965. That prison is full of nothing but Indians. It's the majority, at that time, it was the majority. Every time they did something wrong on an Indian reservation, it was a federal offense because they're on federal property. So the place is probably 80% Native American, the rest of us Anglo and blacks and Hispanics. And so in order to have a chance of fighting and winning and controlling things, the Hispanics and the whites had to partner up. And one night we did. We partnered up and we took on the Indian group and had a great time, and they put us all in solitary confinement. And then a 9 by 10 cell, 9 by 12 cell, I got nothing on because they strip you all down to nothing. You know? There's not even a cot in there. It's a small ledge that goes around the perimeter of the cell. It's about that wide that you sleep on. The rest of the count falls into a hole where you use the bathroom at. And I remember we were talking smack and talking trash back and forth, who won the fights, and a lot of bragging going on. And my 2 o'clock in the morning, my cell door opens up, and 3 guards came in. They're Native American, and they beat me senseless. They kicked out one of my teeth. They broke my nose, fractured a rib, and I remember telling them, "You better kill me because I'm gonna hurt one of you guys when this is over." 1965, some of you older folks will remember there was a huge flood. The Platte River overflowed. Remember that? It just kind of wiped everything out. And I'm sitting in a dormitory watching television with 100 other inmates, and this guard that had beat me was on duty, and he was sitting to my left, and he was about 4 rows in front of me, a bunch of individual chairs, plastic chairs that you sit in to watch the TV. And I saw him there, and I thought, I had a knife, a homemade knife that I had made, and I said, if I get the chance, I'm going to stab this guy. And the flood had caused this power outage. And when the power went out, they had the battery lights, and I could see. And I took my knife, I walked right through the 4 or 5 rows of chairs, and I grabbed him from behind, and I stabbed him 8 or 9 times in the chest, in the face, and in the throat, trying to kill him. And threw him down on the ground, ran back to my bed, and got in bed, thinking, you know, they won't know it's me. And when the lights finally came back upon, here's this guard there bleeding. He didn't die, not because I didn't try, but he's laying there bleeding. And they shot off tear gas and got us all out of bed and got us all up against the wall. So we're all standing there in our skinny white t-shirts, white underwear, and I didn't even realize that I'm standing there looking around. I got blood all over me. I said, "You step out of line." So I stepped out of line. They took me back to court. Gave me another 5 years for assault on a prison guard. Sent me to a place called El Reno, Oklahoma, which is a men's penitentiary. It's not federal penitentiary. It's not a youthful penitentiary. The average age there was probably 45, older people. I'm about 19 or 20 at the time. So when they brought me in, they said, "Son, we're going to have to put you in solitary confinement, B block. No way can we put you out on the main yard because in a month, you'll be somebody's girlfriend." I said, "I don't think so. I really don't think so. I can defend myself." And they said, "All right, we'll give it a try." So they put me out in the main yard population along with everybody else, and I'm incredibly young compared to the rest of the population. They had this goofy idea about the way that you could rehabilitate people, men in particular, is sports. You just get them involved in sports, and they'll somehow turn their life around. So they said, "What sport do you want to be involved in? You got boxing?" They said, "No, we don't have boxing." So they began to name all these sports. I said, "All right, I'll play softball." So they required you to have this khaki pants on and a little khaki shirt, the wife beater kind of shirt, what I'm talking about, but a khaki shirt. That was required PE athletic wear. So I get up, it's my turn to bat, and I'm trying out for this baseball team, and there's an African-American catcher, probably in his mid-40s, and I'm standing there with this bat, and I'm ready to take a swing at the ball, and I heard him whistle at me. Well, you're not the smartest guy. You're squatting down, I'm standing up. You got a mitt, I got a bat. This almost ain't fair. So I said, "Nah, I'm not going to do anything until it actually makes a pass at me." Well, the pitcher pitched the ball in. When he caught it, he threw it back, and with his mitt, he touched me right on the buns. I spun around, I hit him right in the temple. Bam! With that bat, I said, just like that Indian, I'm out. I hit him 7 or 8 times with a shot. The guns tackled me and got me down. Gave me another 7 years for assault on an inmate. I didn't care. I said, who cares? Some people are doctors, some people are lawyers, some people are this and that. I'm an inmate. That's my choice. Here I am. My mom and stepfather had moved out to California to be closer to my brother. And I found out about that, and I put in a transfer. I said, hey, I'd like to go from this God-forsaken place in El Reno, Oklahoma, which the wind blows in every direction at the same time. I want to live somewhere else. California would be nice. So I put in a transfer, and they approved it. And as they began to cart me across the country in this big old Oldsmobile station wagon with an orange jumpsuit on and chained to my waist and my feet, and I would walk like this, and I looked like a choir boy. To this day, I have no tattoos. I just look like Sonny the Kid. And these 2 marshals felt horribly bad for me. They said, son, if you promise us you won't run off, we'll take the chains off of you. I said, great, I won't. So they took the chains off. And I rode, and they would take me into restaurants, and they would buy me as we were working our way across the country. Got to California, and it was approaching dusk, and they said, well, we can't get you to, it's a Lompoc, California. It's a federal prison there, and it's medium security, and be closer to my family. And when we got to East LA, they said, we're going to not chain you to the bed if you again tell us you won't run off tonight. I said, I won't run off. And they didn't chain me to the bed. I ran off. And I stole a car. Now, it was one of those old cars, I think it was a 53 Chevy, and you had to put the clutch in, and you change the gears on the column. Remember those kind? I didn't know how to drive. The Dodge had an automatic, and I didn't know how to shift the gears, so every time I put the clutch in the stolen car, I put it in, and it would jump, and it would die, and I would crank it up again. And I was having a hard time. Police see me coming. They pulled me over and said, son, you got a driver's license? No, I left it at home. Whose car is this? I said, it's my brother's. They said, what's his name? So I just made up a name. They go through the glove compartment, and they find the real owner, and they said, okay, you're arrested. So they took me down to the LA County Jail. Now, I know most of you have not been in a county jail before, but the LA County Jail, there's probably 20,000 inmates in this place. It's massive. It's like Cook County Jail in Illinois. It's huge. So I go into this place, and they said, what's your name? I just made up a name. I just made up this name, and it took me a month to finally learn to respond. Well, that's me, So I gave this name, one before the judge. They printed me. They couldn't find any priors. This was in 1966, so the system ain't quite as good as it is today. And I got processed. I got 60 days for joyriding. They put me in a chain gang in Glendale, California, making fire breaks across the mountain. We would go in and saw down trees, and I thought, these crazy people are going to let me go. I'll just keep this name. Yeah, this is working. A group of inmates came up from the LA County road gang, and they said, hey, there's somebody up here named Wiggs. Because, man, they know who you are. They're coming for you tomorrow. And I heard about that, and I ran off from this road gang. Now, the road gang, I had Levi's, and I had a denim shirt, and across the thing here, it had LA County Jail. And on the back, it had stencils, LA County Jail. This was in 1967 when all the hippies and the crazy people in California were, and I found myself, I said, I'm not stealing another car, and that didn't work. So I'm 60 miles up in the mountains, if you can imagine that. So about 3 days later, I finally get to San Fernando Valley. I'm walking along the streets, and I don't stand out at all. All these crazy Californians, I finally got to my brother's house. I remember on this door, and he opened the door, and the look on his face, I could still remember. He said, what are you doing here? Oh, I just got off the road gang. You can't stay here. They're going to find you here. So he put me on a bus to Phoenix, Arizona, with my military-issued .45. So, all right, I'll make this work. I had 50 bucks. He said, now Paul, here's the best instructions I can give you. Go out there, get yourself a job. Get a job, do the best you can, because when they catch you, and they will, when they catch you, if you've got 4 or 5 years of hard work and leading a good life, maybe they'll give you a break. I said, okay, that's my game plan. Yeah. So I got to Phoenix, got a room at the YMCA. Up in the YMCA, said, all right, I'm going to start looking for a job. I'll make this work. So I went out and I tried this for like a week. Gas station. Remember, back then, the gas station, you actually could hire on as an attendant. Someone would pump your gas and clean your windshield. I said, I'll do that. And I was doing my best to try to find a job anywhere. There was no real fast food kind of industry back at that time. I remember going to this one gas station. It was on Camelback and 32nd Street. And 16th Street, Camelback, a Union 76. And I went in, I guess by this time I was looking pretty ragged. And he said, get off the property. You know, we wouldn't hire anybody, especially someone like you. So I said, this guy deserves to be robbed. But an attitude like this, he deserves to be robbed. So I went back and I said, I had my weapon, I said, give me all your money. And I think it was like $36. So I said, thank you. And I took him into the men's bathroom. And if you remember the men's bathroom, you had to have a key to get in. You had to go into the service station, get a key. So I said, if you come out here, I swear I'll kill you. I'll shoot you. And he said, I'm not coming out. Now, the bathroom was locked to me. But to him, it's open. So I casually ditched my gun and walking down Camelback Avenue, all relaxed, thinking, I got 36 bucks. I could make it another 2 or 3 weeks looking for a job. And unbeknownst to me, he walks out of the bathroom, calls the police. White car pulls up beside him and says, hey, young man. I said, yes. He said, can you come over to the car and assume the position? Now, the position is spread eagle. I knew what that meant. I did. Spread eagle enough. And he said, I said, I'm sorry, beg your pardon? Like I didn't know what that term did. I thought, well, if I just walk over and do that, he's going to say, you've done this before, huh? And I said, I'm sorry, what you said? He said, come over here. So I walk over. He says, get up against this. So I lean up against me, frisked me down. He said, what are you doing out here? I said, well, I'm looking for a job. He said, were you at a gas station back here? I said, not me. And he said, well, where are you staying? I said, I'm staying at the YMCA. He said, the Y? I said, yeah. I just got out of the service and trying to find a job. He said, hey, I know what that's like. I was in the service. Hard to get a job. I said, yeah, you know what it's like? He said, what range of service are you in? I said, Marine Corps. He said, wow, me too. He said, did you ever go to Vietnam? I had not. I said, yeah. He said, me too. He said, what platoon are you in? What division of the Marine Corps? And mind you, I had a limited knowledge of the Marine Corps. I was only in, a year or a year and a half. And I said, I was in 1st Marine Division. Me too. Camp Pendleton. Yeah. So what company are you in? I'm like, this guy's going to keep narrowing this down. I said, K Company 360. He said, I was in L Company. And he said, well, when were you? I said to him, when were you in Vietnam? He said, I was there in 1965. I said, see, I was there in 64. He said, well, listen, I'm sure it's not you. Hop in the car. We'll take you back down to the gas station. We'll make sure everything is okay. Then we'll give you a ride back to the website. I said, I really appreciate it. Now, I don't know if any of you ever been in a squad car, but when you get in those things, the back seat, they don't have door handles. You can't get out of them. And I knew if I ever get in this car, I'm done. They will identify me. So there was 2 officers in this car, and the one that I was talking to that I had kind of bonded with, he turned his back on me, and he walked up and he got the door handle, and he opened it, and he turned to me, and when he did, I knew that I couldn't get in that car, so I kicked him as hard as I could right in the crotch. And when he bent over, I hit him right in the temple with a good right hook. Bam! Down he went, and I started running. And the other officer, who was in the driver's seat, jumps out of the car and starts chasing me. And I'm running through this residential neighborhood, going over fences. Mind you, I'm 21 years old. This guy's got to be 40. And he's gaining ground on me. And I'm pretty fast. And I could hear him holler, stop or I'll shoot. I said, he won't shoot. He won't shoot me. And over this fence I went, and I heard him holler again, stop or I'll shoot. Pow! And round off. I said to myself, he's shooting up in the air. He won't shoot me. I know he won't. So as this last cyclone fence, I hurtled over when I got to the other side and started running. I looked back to see where he's at. He had cleared the fence. He's down on one knee. And he said again, he leveled the gun right. He said, halt or I'll shoot. This was the third time. And I still didn't believe it. And as I'm running across the street, this woman had begun to irrigate her lawn. And in Arizona, when they irrigate a lawn, they fill the lawn up with water. I mean, it's that deep. So as I'm running, I hear the last round go, pow, and I heard the sound. It went right over my shoulder, and I saw it hit the mud, and it splashed, and I thought, my goodness, this guy's actually shooting at me. And I looked back again. When I did, I tripped over the curb, and into her lawn I went. Face down in this mud, just sliding, trying to get to my feet, and this officer now was closing in on me. And as I could see, he was I would not be able to get to my feet in time to fight him off or try to get away. So I dropped back down again, and he went right over the top of me. And as he did, he slid, and his weapon came out of his hand. His weapon went one way, and he went the other way. And I thought, get his gun and kill him. I'm just trying to get away, nothing personal. But the gun had come so far. I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get away this way. So as I ran, I had to jump over him. And he's scrambling to try to get to his feet, and I kicked him as hard as I could right in the face. And over him, I jumped, and I ran and out into the street, and the guy that I had kicked earlier had recovered. And he had gotten in the police car, and he brought it to a sliding halt in front of me. I'm full of mud, my hands are up in the air, and he said, stop or you're dead. And so I stopped in the middle of the street, and I got my hands up, and the guy who was in the mud tackles me. And down on the pavement we go. He's straddling me now. I'm face down on the pavement, and he is raining down some blows on me. I'm like the guy. He's hitting me in the head and cursing, and he grabs my left wrist, jerks it up around behind my back, and to put the handcuffs on. And when he did, my adrenaline was pumping. He broke my wrist, and I didn't even know it. So he's cuffed me, drags me back to the car, throws me face down in the back seat on the floorboard. And they said, buddy, you're going to Maricopa County Jail. So as we began to drive, I'm thinking, how do I get out of this? And I heard the other police officer say, oh my gosh, stop the car. So they stopped the car. I thought, oh, I'm going to get another beating here. It's going to happen. So they opened the back door, they pull me out, take the handcuffs off, and this hand is that big. It's all broken. And he said, I didn't know I did that. And he said, we're going to take you to the county hospital, Maricopa County Hospital. So into the county hospital I go. I'm sitting on the gurney as they're setting my wrist. These two cops are standing there looking at me. Their adrenaline by this time had passed. And he said, son, were you really in the service? I said, yeah, I really was. Were you really in Vietnam? Yeah, I really was. What's your name? I made up another name. I worked in LA, maybe I worked in Phoenix. So they took me to the county jail, Maricopa County Jail. And probably for 6 weeks, these cops would drop by and say, Mike, how you doing? I said, doing good. We're going to get you out of this. You've never been in trouble before. No, never had. So, you worked in LA, maybe I go to a road gang or something. Who knows? And about the 6th week, I remember these two police officers came back, and they're standing in front of me. I said, well, man, sunglasses, so not a smile on their face. You can see the muscles in their jaws rippling. Any of you police officer here? Anybody? Anybody know police officers? One of the things they hate is being conned, because they believe themselves to be this great street sense. I know when a guy is conning me. Is that true? Yeah, they have this great, they hated them, that they've been conned. They said, Wiggs, oh crap. We have got you, and you're in trouble now. They said a few other things. So I went to court, and they gave me 7 to 15 years for robbery, assault on a police officer, sent me to Florence, Arizona State Prison. The state prisons are not federal prison. Federal prisons, you got mini golf. You got tennis. This place is in the desert. They got nothing. I thought, wow, this is not quite what I expected. I got 7 to 15 years to do here. Plus the feds, when I get through it, they're going to another period of time I will be with them. So I said, all right, I'm going to settle down. I'm going to do the best I can. They would not let you out of your cell block to meet any conditions, none, except one. And that was AA. If you were a member of AA, if you had an Alcoholics Anonymous problem, you could go to an AA meeting. They said, got us all together. Any of you men have a problem with alcohol? Any of you Need a 10 Alcoholics Anonymous. That's me. I got drunk problems all the time. So I got to get out of myself, go to these goofy meetings, and it was something to do because there was literally nothing to do with this place. And I worked in the administrative area of the prison. I have a fairly high IQ. I mean, just poor judgment, but high IQ. I worked in the administration, and I would test the inmates when they came in. And the psychologist would take the test, and they would look at it later. And I would process these inmates in, and I just enjoyed it. I'd have these are bank robbers, these are rapists, these are people, assault, these are horrible bottom of the society people. And I'd get them in a room, and I'd say, all right, guys, how are you doing this test here? Which was all BS. There's a lot. I said, how are you doing this test here is going to determine what kind of job. You want to pick up cigarette butts on the ground? Fine, blow this test off. You really want to get a good job in the kitchen where there's yeast and you can make home brew? Do good on the test. So you gotta take this test and do what I say. They said, okay. So all right, put your name on the paper. And all right, when you're done, hold your pencil up and say, I'm done. None of this was required. So I'm done. Now these are papers. Stand up. Then I'll say, let's turn around. And I'll turn around. I just enjoyed my job. Someone found out later didn't need to do all that. Did not happen. I stole a phone book in the administrative. Yellow Pages. I brought it back and opened it up. I had no idea why I looked under utilities. And there's this long list of utilities, and I tore the pages out and brought it back to my cell. And I began to write letters. Now, you're not allowed to write letters to you guys not on your mailing list. I had no one on my mailing list. I didn't want my parents to know where I was at. I didn't want my family to know where I was at. And, all this time, my family had no idea that they thought I was dead. It's just disappeared out of their lives. So I took this phone book and I took these names of these businesses and I wrote it the biggest BS letter you can imagine. There's a group of us inmates down here. We're really trying to rehabilitate ourselves. Someday we're going to get out and we really want to do good, and can you come down and help us? And I put these in envelopes, got postage on them, and I bribed a guard to mail them for me. So he took them out, he mailed them. To my surprise, there was a dozen representatives from companies showed up at the front gate of the state prison and said, hey, we're here to help some inmates that are trying to help. And they said, what are you talking about? Inmates that are trying to help themselves. Yeah. Bunch of them. Trying to rehabilitate themselves. You guys don't help them, obviously. And they just sent them home. Week after week after week, these guys would come down. Finally, there was only one coming down anymore. His name was Gary Taylor. I have no idea to this day, other than the power of God, why he just kept coming. Finally, I said, okay, we'll let you come in. You can meet some of these guys. And he came into the AA meeting and he formed this group called Knowledge Seekers. He said, we need some officers. I said, I'll be an officer. What do you want me to do? Just organize the men. So he taught us how to tie a tie and how to balance a checkbook. And none of us cared. We really did. And we did that. So when are you going to bring us in some booze? That's the real reason why we got you here. And Gary became a friend. And over the course of 2 or 3 years, he helped a lot of inmates get out. And he got jobs. He didn't talk about Christ, he was a Mormon. So came to me one day and said, Paul, let me see if I can get out of here. I said, don't matter if they do, the feds will get me. Concentrate on somebody else that's got some decent shot at life. He went back to his company. He got a corporate lawyer. And he filed a writ of habeas corpus from the state of California. And that writ came back and said, find this young man guilty or innocent for escape from the county road gang so that you can run his time together because he's doing 7 to 15 years in prison over here. Got a letter back from a guy by the name of Everett J. Younger. Everett J. Younger, prosecuting county attorney for LA County, the grandson of Cole Younger, the bank robber. Go figure. He says, hey, we got bigger fish to fry than some little schmuck that's, in the county jail over here. We're dropping the charges. Wow. Okay. Well, it was just for escape from a road gang. And Emory, that's what I'm telling you. Emory Brown, who was the vice president, vice warden of care and treatment, whom I reported to in Arizona, he wrote the federal government. And he said, hey, look, this kid's got 7 to 15 years. He ain't going nowhere. Why don't you at least run his time concurrent so he can get all this time done? And they said, we're dropping the charges. The federal government just dropped the charges. So all I had was the 7 to 15 years that I had to do there. Now, the law in Arizona at the time said, if you have a prior felony conviction, which I did, if you have a prior felony conviction, you got to do at least 50% of the big end of your sentence, which was 15 years. So that meant I had to do 7.5 years. If you don't have a prior felony conviction, you only have to do 1/3 of your minimum sentence, which was 7 years. I said, all right, I got another 5 years and I'll be eligible for parole. I mean, I can see daylight at the end of this thing. At this time, I'm 23 years old. I thought, hey, I might get out of here before I'm 30. The state legislature met in June of that year of 1970 and changed the laws because of overcrowding in the prison. And they said, hey, we're changing the laws, and anybody that's is eligible for parole after 1/3 of their minimum sentence. They didn't say anything about prior felony convictions, and they said, you're eligible. Immediately. I thought, wow, okay, I'm not going to make it, but I'm eligible. So I'll go into the parole board, and they'll say no, and I'll come back in a year, and they'll say no, and I'll come back in another year, and maybe they'll say yes. So over for my parole hearing, Gary came down and saw me, and he said, Paul, look, you really got a problem with anger. We've got to talk about this. You got a real management problem there. When you go into the parole board hearing, they may ask you, they may say bad things, they may try to goad you into going crazy. Don't. You won't get parole. Okay? Just go in, and whatever they say, just say yes, yes, no, and then shut up. Don't say anything else. And I said, okay. So I went to this parole hearing, and there's 3 people there. This one guy, he's in his 70s, wears a flat top. His name is William Riley. He's the chairman of the parole board. He's a volunteer appointed by the governor, and he's president and CEO of Arizona Public Service, the local utility company that Gary works for. So when I walk in, he's got the sweetest, gentlest voice. I'm all prepared for them to talk about my mom or something to try to get me mad, you know. And they said, Paul, young man, if we were to release you, do you have a place to stay? And before I could say no, Gary said yes, he's going to stay with me and my wife and my kids. Oh, okay. He said, do you have a job? Before I could say no. Gary said, yeah, he's going to work for our company. He's going to deliver mail. He'll be a mailroom boy. And he said, Paul, have you had enough of this prison? I said, I have. He said, okay. Why don't you step outside and we'll deliberate. So I stepped outside the empty room waiting for them to hear. There's a glass wall there that I can see Gary. A few minutes later, the door opens up and his hand sticks out. I mean, the person didn't even show his face, just stuck a hand with a piece of paper, and I thought, this is a denial. So I opened this piece of paper up and said, release date. Now, this was in November of 1970. It said, release date January 4th, 1971. I thought, that's like 2 months away. And Gary, by this time, was looking through the window now. He said, what did they say? So I held the paper up to him so he could read it. He's reading carefully. He goes, that's not what I told them. I want you out by Christmas of this year, like 2 weeks earlier. And I said, hey, it don't matter. Don't go back in there. You'll make them mad or something. He said, I'll be right back. And I said, Gary, Christmas is a comb and an apple from the Salvation Army. I don't mean nothing to me. He said, I want you out for Christmas. He comes back around and he holds up this new release date, penciled in December 23rd, 1970. So I had just under two months left to serve. And I remember my friends had this going away party. They said, Paul, go out and have a good time. Get drunk, find yourself a woman, get a gun. Rob somebody, come on back. This is where you belong. You don't belong out there. You belong here. I had stature. I had status. I mean, when you go into a state prison and you beat up a police officer, you got status. So I said, I'm going to get this thing going, guys. And they said, have a good time. Good time. So Gary picked me up that morning, 8 o'clock in the morning on December 23rd. I remember I was still angry. Warden Frank Iman was the warden of that prison, and his brother-in-law owned the only clothing store in that little town of Florence, and you had to buy your clothes from them. You got $100 in clothes, and it was kind of a country western place. So when they took me in there to get my clothes, I said, I don't like these clothes. I gotta go somewhere else and shop. No, this is it. I said, I don't like these clothes. Now, this is the guy that's about to be released from prison. And they said, hey, what difference does it make to you? I said, I don't like these clothes. They said, you got $100, spend it or don't spend it. We don't care. I said, I'll take $100 worth of handkerchiefs. I didn't. I had a bag full of handkerchiefs. Still rebellious and angry, and you're not going to defeat me. So they gave me some issue clothes, worn clothes of inmates. When they come there, they have to give up their clothes, send them home, or they give them away. So I dressed out of the state prison in that clothes. And Gary brings me, that's why I didn't look so good. I mean, so when they bring me out of the prison, Gary picks me up in the morning. He says, we're going back to my office. Well, I mean, some people got a Christmas party going on. It's great. So we drove up to this big building, and he said, you'll be working in this building up here. So, great. We got out of the car. I'm in somewhat shock because I'm still, should be about 45 before I ever got released if everything went well. I'm 24. And as we walk up the set of stairs in the personnel department where he worked at, I opened up into a kind of an open area, and there was this group of women that worked in there. And the first woman I saw was Marcella. She was beautiful. And I ran past her. And he took me to his office. And he said, I want you to meet Marcella. This is my secretary. I said, Marcella's nice to meet you. He said, she's working all this stuff to get you out of prison. I said, really? And so she knows all about you. You don't have to make up stories about yourself with her. So I went into Gary's office, and she came in a little bit later and said, would you like some punch and some cookies? I said, sure. So she brought some punchy cookies. She said, do you want to come and meet these folks? Not really. I really don't. Somebody's going to say something smart to me, and I'm going to go off on them. No, I don't want to go out there. So I did. And I knew this is not going to work. It's not going to work. These people hate me. If they know who I was, they'd be ashamed of me. If they knew who I was, they would throw me out of here. They don't like me. So I began to deliver the mail. I went to work, and each morning I was looking forward to going to the personnel department, getting the mail, and just saying hi to Marcella. I didn't know what else to say. Hi. And she was like, hi. And one day she said, would you like to have lunch with me and some of the other ladies here? I said, yes, yeah, I like that. Just wanted you to join us in the cafeteria. Cafeteria probably sat 300 people. So I went through the line and got my food, and I'm prison trained. I got my food. We go over to the little table to sit down, and there's 3 ladies and myself, and we sit down, and I got 5 minutes to eat. That's my training. And so I focus on the food there, and I just start eating. Got mouthfuls of food. It's on me. And I look up, and these ladies are just kind of staring at me. They barely got their napkins on their laps, and my cheeks are. And Marcel said, that's okay. And I look around, and it felt like everybody was going, yeah, that's a convict. Gary got out of prison. And I just flushed with anger. So I stood up and I said, screw all you people. And I gave the finger and I went to the elevator. Big deal, I'm a mail boy. I make $50 a month, like this is a great career here or something. So I walked right to the elevator with the intentions I'm done with this stuff. And Marcel phoned. The elevator, we went downstairs. And she said, it's really okay. And I said, would you want me back to the office? She left her lunch there. So I walked her back to the office. She said, would you like to go eat outside, in one of the restaurants? I said, sure, yeah. Okay, all right. So she invited me to church. She said, would you like to go to church with me? I said, yeah, I'll go anywhere with you. I like to go to church. Yeah. I remember church with my grandmother. I mean, every day that church was open, we were there. My grandmother loved the church. She wanted me to be a part of the church, and I always said, nah. So I went to this church with Marcella. Dick Zollner was the pastor of Calvary Chapel Church in Scottsdale. And I didn't care if he was a Pentecostal, Catholic. I didn't care. I was sitting next to Marcella. So she come over in her little Volkswagen. She picked me up on Sunday morning, and we go to church. And the only place where there was a seat was packed. The only place was right on the front. This guy began to. He's a Texan. He was from Texas, and he took a little liberty with the stories that he's a great storyteller. He began to tell the story about this woman that had hemorrhaged for all these years, and she stank, and she was dirty, and she was unclean, and she was ostracized from the community. And I could identify with this woman. And I said, I know that feeling, lady. And I'd never heard the story before. He was so great in the storytelling. And he said, and Jesus was coming down through the throngs that she could see him. And she said to herself, I know if I can just touch the hem of his garment, I'll be made well. And she was looking forward to it at the last minute. Jesus turned sharp right. And she said, I'm not going to make it. And she dove through the crowd, grabbed the hem of his garment, and Christ stopped and said, someone has touched me. And the disciples said, Master, many have touched you. He said, no, I felt the power go out of me. I felt someone touch me. And he looked down, and he made this woman stand up and testify as to why she had done this. And he stopped in the story right there. The pastor did, and he said, do you feel like that woman? And he looked right at me. I said, yes. He said, would you like to be made whole like her? I would. I would like that. Would you like to take away the stench and the guilt and the shame out of your life? And I can feel my head bobbing. I'd like that. He said, let's pray. So we all bowed our head, and when it did, this thought came to mind and said, what are you doing? This stuff is for old men, women, and children. If you can't do the crime, can't do the time, don't do the crime. And I said, what was I thinking? I was actually about to get up. So I sit there with my head down, and this pastor, he was about the fifth time of just as I am, and he was really laying it on me, come forward. I said, it ain't going to happen, pal. You know, I can outlast you, and I can stand on my head for a week in solitary confinement. You can't get me up there. It's not going to happen. And time again, he tried, please come forward. I said, not going to happen. And the service was over. I saw when I got up and left, we're in the car, and I got quiet. She said, how'd you like it? I said, it's all right. And she said, you sure everything's all right? Yeah, everything's fine. So she took me back to Gary's house where I was staying. I went inside. Now, I am a half-glass full kind of guy. Optimist from day one. I mean, if you're in a cell 9 by 12, butt naked, thinking tomorrow's going to be better, you are an optimist. I said, this is depressing. I not only have messed up this life, I'm going to hell the next life. I've screwed up both lives. What have I done? What have I done to myself? And I said, Gary, I'm going to go over and see Marcella. He said, great, you want to ride? And I said, no, I can walk. She lived about 2 miles from where Gary lived. I said, I can walk. I want to think again. He said, okay. So I left the house walking, and down a major thoroughfare, it'd be like walking down Wadsworth. I'm walking down this major thoroughfare, and I'm talking to God, and I'm saying, God, I don't want to go back to prison. I don't want to stay out here. See you later, Mom. See you later. I don't want to go back to prison. I don't want to stay here with all these crazy people. I don't identify with them. And as I was talking to God, I realized, wow, this is pretty close to praying. I think I'll just pray. Now, I didn't hear this, but I got this sense that said, kneel down. And I'm on the sidewalk, and I can't kneel down on the sidewalk. You know, the people would think I'm nuts. So I stepped over to a parking lot, and I knelt down in this parking lot. And I can still remember the oil and the car grease. And I began to confess my sins. I said, Lord, bring to mind everything I've ever done. It was like a movie going on in my head. Back to the time when I stole things, hurt people, all the things I'd done wrong. And I began to confess that. And I didn't realize that time I was just crying like a little girl. a snot running down my nose. And it was one of those moments, and finally I got right up to where I was at in time, and I didn't have anything else to confess. And I thought, that's it. That's all I got. And I stood up, and I felt light. I felt different. The anger was not like it was. And I thought, I think something's happened to me. I ran over someone's house. I just, hard as my legs would carry me, knocked on the door. And I said, I think I've accepted Christ. And I told her what happened. She said, you have. So we celebrated. I went back to the church a couple more times. The exalted became a good friend. And I know pastors, when they get this message and people don't come forward, they want to hear that God has used them, and I assure them that. I asked Marcel to marry me. It was in March of 1971. We'd known each other 3 months. I'll tell you, my daughter came home and said, Dad, I met this great guy. Just got out of prison. 10 years. I said, you nuts. You out of your mind. So I came up to Denver, met her mom and dad. I knew I had to face her dad. Her dad's a great guy. He passed in 94. Just a great guy. He loved me instantly. We were sitting out on the stoop, out on where the sidewalks at their lot, one of those North Denver lots. And I said, Mr. Burrell, I got to tell you something. He said, sure, son, what is it? I said, I've had some problems with the law. And he said, stop it, Paul. It's okay. A lot of young men have problems with the law. I said, okay. It was years later that we were driving by this prison. I said, hey, sit my son. He goes, yeah, bad people's over there. A lot of bad people. That's where I was at. He said, oh, you did it wrong. Marcel and I quickly got involved in the church and didn't have that heart's attitude anymore about people think I'm bad, or I know it's valuable to Christ, He died for me. That church welcomed us, just pulled us in and loved us in spite of my background. They cared for us, they nurtured us, they taught us, and God just moved me up through the ranks of my company. Not everybody in the company knew about my background, but all the officers did. I finished out my career there 25 years. I was director of marketing, new business development, and industrial recruitment. Traveled all over the world. Met most of the governors from the states around the country. God is, I said, God, I will never, ever deny you. So when someone would say, Paul, what turned your life around? Some officer in the company. I knew the answer they wanted to hear. The answer they wanted to hear was this great company that gave me a great opportunity and a good job. I know that's what I said. It's all one thing that changed my life. That's the power of the Lord Jesus Christ. Never deny Him. We love God's Word. We love His people. We love our family. We love this family. We're just getting to know each other. I hope our church doesn't go back down to 65 after this meeting. We love you, and I so look forward to getting to know all of the new folks here. But Pastor Mark and myself thought this would be a good time to let the other part of our church here that doesn't know a little about who your associate pastor is, so that when you hear it for the first time, you go, what? I don't believe that. The power of God is powerful in any life. If you've got grandchildren, if you've got nieces and nephews that are struggling with life, don't give up. My grandmother prayed for me until the day she died. My grandmother died in 1976, and we got the blessing of having her come out to our house, and her seeing her grandson, not in prison clothes anymore. A proud father, a Christian. I praise God she got to see that. My mom got to see me as a new man. My family, it took them quite a while. Many came to know the Lord. I probably set them back 2 or 3 years on them coming to know Christ. I was really excited about the Lord when I would come. You got to give up this, you got to stop that, God loves you. And they said, oh gosh, Mom, He's not the second coming of Christ. Have to put up with this every time He comes in. I love the Lord. I love His You guys are going to love this. It's out of the book of Psalms. I have told the glad news of deliverance to the great congregation. Behold, I have not restrained my lips, as you know, Lord. I have not hidden your deliverance within my heart. I have spoken of your faithfulness and your salvation. I have not concealed your steadfast love and your faithfulness from this great congregation. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Let me give you my testimony too. How I love the Lord, now I love you. May God bless you, families, and encourage you. Amen.
We love you too.
Would you go hug a nursery worker on your way out? Because they've been with the kids quite a while, and we want them to come back next week. We'd also love to see you back, so please come on back. Be blessed and know that God loves you. Go and have a great week.
Don't forget to list your blessings on this picture.
I got a problem. And smile. Thanks, you too.
Hey, Ian. Hi, Rosie. Like a Rosie dog.
Yeah.
months? Whoa, that's a big 8-month-old dog. Yeah, they train. Yeah, they train. That's why you see them with different dogs. You guys remember when we used to put their Hey, Morgan!
That was a good testimony. Pretty amazing. Morgan.
Good to see you,
Morgan,
Mrs.
too,
Morgan.
huh?
She is.
I'm Bart.
I know. Well, the only difference you can do is change the A to an E. That's the only other thing. So,
Close enough. Something like that, right?
no.
No, I actually live
Just
up
right
the
off.
street. Kipling.
She's in the good area.
Yeah.
I'm trying to convince him to check out.
Yeah. Got to head towards the mountains, man.
Right, that's right. Oh, I've got to get in the car to really hear God.
Yeah.
Good.
That was
Yeah, you wouldn't think that of Paul, huh?
Is that a good joke or bad? See you guys.
Great. Gotta grab it.
No. Mark, good friend of mine.
Steve Styling?
Nice to meet you. So you know Bobby?
I do.
And you still come around?
I do. Several years, actually.
Yeah, good. What's it been for us now, brother? 5 years?